He wanted to be in a relationship with us. But we messed it up. And so the rest of the Bible is what? It's about getting us back into that relationship. Getting us back into the garden. But not the garden just as it was back then. Because Adam was put in the garden, and he was given the task of doing what with the garden? Tending it. But before even that, in Genesis 1, God says, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Can I propose to you that he wasn't supposed to just stay in that little garden plot? He was supposed to multiply. Multiply what, by the way? Children. I'm going to propose to you not just children, but images of God. Not just physical offspring who are like him, being in the image of God. And as he multiplied, they would expand out, and whatever we don't know the status of the rest of the world, but it was not subdued. Can we agree on that? Yeah. Whatever the rest of the state was, it needed to be subdued. And so I'm going to propose to you that when Messiah returns, the idea is that we're going to fulfill the mandate given to Adam. Yeah. That we're going to subdue the entire earth. Now, I love the land of Israel, don't get me wrong, but the idea is the whole earth. Even here in Texas, where it's very hot. Very hot. I'm from Minnesota. I'm not kidding you. 2 weeks ago, it was 48 degrees at night. Now it was like 63 in the daytime. That's a little bit of a difference. I'm still doing Minnesota for now. No. I do enjoy the warm weather, but... No, I actually lived here a couple of years of my life, so I was used to it, but I'll tell you, as soon as you go up to Minnesota and you live there for a couple of years, it feels really weird to go back down to the heat. You get used to it, and then it's like, for me, if it's about 0 degrees out, I'll go out to the mailbox and, in a shorts and t-shirt and flip-flops on to get the mail, and I'll kind of walk around out there. I'll take my son out in just his diaper. It doesn't bother me. I walk out here and it's 100 degrees. I'm like, nope. Staying inside. I actually did not leave during the revival. I didn't leave the hotel once. I was not going to leave. It was nice. They had air conditioning in there. That's where I come from. I'm one of the frozen chosen. Don't be mad at me. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about idolatry. Okay? We're created in the image of God, and idolatry is what? It's the distortion of that image. It's not that you're something completely different. It's that you take what God has created and you change just a little bit of it. We see that with Eve. Eve is talking to the serpent. Did she change God's words?
Yes.
Yes, she did. 4 distinct points. She took his words and just twisted them a little bit. And that's all it took. It was interesting because the serpent actually didn't even really lie to her in the way that we think of it. He said, if you eat the fruit of this, you will be as God, knowing good and evil. Now, what was the real lie there? I bet none of you have ever thought about this, unless... The lie was that she was already like God. She was created in the image of God. And so the lie is that if you do something additional to what God has created you to do, you can be like Him. You ever thought about it from that perspective? It's a little bit different. Eve was created in the image of God. Right? That's what we see in Genesis 1:28. In God's image. And so I'm proposing that Satan's lie was, if you eat this fruit, you will be like God. The lie was that she was not already like God. That she needed something else outside of what God had given her to be like Him. She needed something outside of Scripture. She needed a new revelation. She needed to know the shape of the earth in order to be like God. I'll go there.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, you can be like God without knowing exactly the shape of the earth. We don't need additional revelation. We don't need the secret things. We just need to go back and realize what it means to be in the image of God. Because if we're not doing that, we become distortions. When you think about those mirrors, have you ever been to those mirrors that they're slightly distorted? They're either concave, convex, like that. Do you see yourself there?
Yeah.
But what's wrong with that image? It's a distortion. It's not a true representation of your nature. That's what idolatry does, is it distorts our image. Let's turn to Psalms Psalms 115. Yeah. Psalms 115, verse 4. He says, "Their idols are silver and gold, the works of a man's hands. They have mouths, but they cannot speak. They have eyes, but they cannot see. They have ears, but cannot hear. They have noses, but cannot smell. They have hands, but they cannot feel. They have feet, but they cannot walk. They make no sound in their throats, and those who make them will become like them. Everyone who trusts in them." That's also repeated again in very similar language in Psalm 135. You can check that out later. But it puts into perspective a very interesting principle. It's that you become like what you worship. You become like what you worship. Now think about this. Think about how we talk about idolizing people today. If you idolize someone, what do you try to do? You try to not just make them God, but you try to emulate them. You try to emulate them. You try to do what they do. Act like how they act. Speak the way that they speak. That's nothing new. That's something that is based in Scripture. You become like what you worship. Think about Israel. Israel, way back in the day, what is the first thing that they worshipped apart from God as a nation? The golden calf. Now let me ask you this. How many of you have ever seen a golden calf move its neck like this? No. It is what? It's stiff-necked. Stationary. Oh. Did you guys just make that connection? If you go back and now look, God does not call Israel stiff-necked until after the golden calf incident. Was it not until after? Why? Because they started to become like what they worship. If you worship God, what is God like? He's like life. He is life. If you worship God, you will be life. That's why John says, "Whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life." Now, it's interesting because that word for everlasting life, if you take it back into Hebrew, the word is olam, for everlasting. Now, olam is not just everlasting, but it can also speak about an age. How many of you have ever heard of olam hazeh, olam haba? Very, very, very important for us to really understand the story of Scripture. You see these two things actually being talked about quite frequently once you actually recognize the terminology in the New Testament. Olam hazeh is the world that is, or the present age. We've heard that term a lot. And olam haba is the world to come. See, in Jewish mindset and in scriptural mindset, you have two ages. You have the present age, which is filled with death, with corruption, with violence. It's ruled over by Satan, if you will. And then you have the world to come, which is an age of life. If you believe in him, you will have eternal life. Or you could also say you will be able to participate in the age of life. The age of life, it's not just about living forever. It's about participating in an age of life where not just you are alive, but everything is alive. The world is alive. Things are better. Things are the best, if you will. They're the way that God intended them to be. No more drug addicts. No more crimes. No more people dying of cancer. It's not just about living forever, but it's about living in a place that you want to live in. It's that paradise that we see in the movies. That they try to say, if you just believe in evolution, if you just believe in genetic mutation, maybe you'll jump in front of an X-ray machine and you can become a superhero. You can be the next Captain America if you just evolve with us. See, we gotta always be on guard. We're being sold a worldview. Think about this. When you think about falling in love and getting married to someone, how do you view that now as an American? You typically view that through the lens that Hollywood has sold you on. That getting married is about having some crazy romantic adventure and doing all these super romantic things, and yet they don't emphasize what? They don't emphasize actually taking care of that person. Actual commitment to the person. In fact, when you watch movies, I think the stats were like 90 or 95% of the sex scenes in movies involve people who are not married. What are they teaching you subliminally there? That satisfaction comes outside of the marriage bed. They're selling us on a different worldview. They're teaching us that this is what reality is. This is what it means to be human, is to go through one of these super romantic experiences and then to have the married with children life for a while and then find a romantic fling outside of marriage. That's what it means to be human in America a lot of times. That's how a website like that, the one where you can meet, cheating, I don't remember what it's called. Some website where you can have an affair that they literally have like 5 women on there and like 5 billion guys. They have all these fake accounts. It was in the news like a year ago. How could that, can you imagine a website like that 50 years ago? That would have been on the front page of every news site until it was shut down. Now it's just, this is what reality is. This is what it means to be a human being, is to do that. This is what God is teaching us. This is what the Torah is about. This is what the Bible is about, is it's teaching us what it means to be human. It's shifting our reality. If we ingrain ourselves, if we actually stop all the commentaries for one day a week, whatever day that is, and just read the Bible one day a week, over and over and over and over again, we'll start to shift our reality of what things mean. What does it mean to do this? What does this mean? That's why it's so important. And trust me, for me, that's actually tough sometimes. Because I love the commentaries. At home, I've got so many books that I've read about this much out of a book like this big. Amen. I'm constantly wanting to go back there. But I've got to sit down and remind myself it's not always about the commentary. Sometimes it's just, even if I don't understand it, just reading it over and over again so that I start to see the world through that lens of Scripture. So I start to interpret things, and especially the book of Genesis. So you think about the book of Genesis becomes the lens for interpreting the rest of Scripture. That's why they put it at the beginning. Think about the stories in the book of Genesis. Do they all make sense to us? Let me ask you a question. In the story of Dinah, everyone remember Dinah and the rape, the supposed rape? Who's the good guy and who's the bad guy there? Who does the right thing, who does the wrong thing?
Prince does the right thing.
Now, I tend to side with... It's hard to find the guy there. I tend to side with Simeon and Levi. I'm like, you know what, if I had a daughter or a sister, I'd want to be the one who, slaughtered those people. Now, let me ask you a question. Who did according to the Torah? Shechem. Shechem operated according to the Torah, because the Torah says that you're to offer a bride price. And keep, And so Simeon and Levi take the sign of the covenant, the circumcision, and they use that as a means of slaughtering not just the person, but the entire village. So can I propose to you that that story and many of the other stories aren't supposed to teach us who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. They're supposed to teach us this is the problem in the world. And that there's not a perfect solution to any problem. It's supposed to get us critically thinking about these things. All right. Let's continue on here. So we see that Yeshua has indicated the way that he was supposed to die by being lifted up from the earth. And you notice he says here what? He's going to draw all people unto myself. Now that's a kind of interesting statement, given his audience, because what did they think in the first century? Just about us. In fact, I had posted on Facebook something about, I posted John 3:16 on there, and someone, I don't know who it is, I won't call them out anyways, but someone said, well, that word world, for God so loved the world, actually just means the Hebrews. Really? Did you miss the rest of the message of the whole scripture? God doesn't just love the Hebrews. God doesn't just love the Jews. God loves the whole world.
Amen. He
created Israel in order to save the rest of the world. We've been given salvation not for ourselves, but so that we can become a people of salvation who bring salvation to the rest of the world. That's our role. That's our duty. And salvation isn't just knocking on